Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I do my Q&A. Basically, you guys get to ask me whatever questions you want, and the next week I will answer them in my Q&A video. So last week, some people sent me some questions, and this week I'll answer them. And if you ask me a question in the comments below, I will give your channel a shout out too. So it's a little bit of free publicity to your channel. So we have only 3 questions this week. The first question comes from Robots versus Folks 1. Great video. I may have missed it, but do you own any Promise Collection books? For those who are not familiar with the Promise Collection, it is a pedigree collection. And a pedigree is basically, sometimes what happens is people find a collection of comics that have been preserved for a long, long time. Usually they're in high grade and there are key issues that are quite scarce. So for example, one of the most famous collections is the Mile High or Edgar Church pedigree, where they basically found like almost like a warehouse find of just the best Golden Age books, you know, like Superman 1 and Action Comics 1, and just all the major grails in high grade. Now, the Promise Collection is kind of like another one of these great collections that has been kind of discovered. What happened was during the Korean War, 2 brothers went off to war. One was a comic collector, and he had an amazing collection. And he told his brother that if he, for some reason, something unfortunate happens to him in the war, he asked his brother, "Can you promise me you'll take care of my funny books?" And his brother kept that promise when his brother died. So, it's kind of like one of those tragic stories. And because it's a tragic story and has that kind of interesting history behind it, a lot of the Promise Collection books sell for a big premium. Like, so what I've seen just looking at the ones that sell on Heritage, and it's Heritage auctions that's really selling the complete collection of Promise books, is that usually the Promise Collection books command like usually about a $300% in premium. Just like, so if you bought it without the Promise pedigree and you bought it, just regular, same grade, well, the Promise pedigree one would be worth about 3 times more. It's just insane how much of a premium people are putting on that Promise collection. Now, I was fortunate and I actually got 2 from the Promise Collection, and one is going to be in a future unboxing. It's on its way. I'm just waiting for it, and it's a really big book. I'm really excited about it, actually. And that one is the highest in its not only is it like a pedigree Promise Collection, but it is the highest graded book, and it's a very scarce book. There's less than 10 on the census, so it's like highest grade rare book. And it is a Seduction of the Innocent book. So it's just like so many factors. That book will be in a future unboxing. So that if you're interested in Promise Collection, if you're interested in SOT collections, that comic is in a future unboxing. But I will show you the Promise Collection book that I do have currently. And this is actually a really great book too. It's not the highest graded for the comic. Sorry that it's in the plastic. I'll try to make the reflection not so bad. This is Crown Comics number 3. Now, what's so special about this book? Well, it actually features the first black superhero in comics. So, and his name was Buddha. And so and it also, the other great thing about it is the artist that did this book is Matt Baker, a very famous, prominent black artist, probably one of the greatest artists of the Golden Age, and he just happens to be a black man. And he was the one that created Buddha, so very important comic, especially for Black history. But just a really great comic, and I'm just so happy to have this one in my collection. Actually, this one's from 1945, so Crown Comics #3, and it's a pedigree. So you'll notice the Promise Collection pedigree. I will say, see if I can get it so that it doesn't reflect too much. You'll see that it says Promise Collection. Okay, so that's a little bit about the Promise Collection, and as I said, I have 2 books. 2 books. The Promise Collection is hundreds of books, so yeah, I have this much of it. Okay, the next question is from Delph Cause. He wrote, or he or she, I don't know. Do you collect any comics from other countries, like Japan or Europe? And yes, I do. So I actually collected a lot of foreign edition Warren magazines. So I have like Japanese Vampirella and Portuguese Vampirella, Brazilian Vampirella, you know, creepy, eerie, famous monsters, all of those from foreign countries, like Spain, Portugal, Italy, Germany, like South America, like South American countries, just all over the place. I have these foreign editions, but I also collect some foreign issues of certain books. So I'm going to show you some books that really are ones that you could only buy in these foreign countries. And they're ones that I kind of wanted to get in my collection. So the first that I'm going to show you, and this one is kind of a personal grail. It's Deadline #1. And this is the first appearance of Tank Girl. This is a British publication, Deadline. And it's a magazine, but this is the very first appearance of Tank Girl, and it's just a character that I kind of liked from the like, this is like 1988, but I kind of got introduced to Tank Girl in the 90s in the comics. So this is Tank Girl's first appearance, and it's a UK publication, so that's kind of a cool book. I will show you another one. This one's kind of obvious. It's Captain Britain. And this, again, is another one you can only get in the UK. And it's like these were produced so cheaply. They're very thin. They're in this large magazine format. And it's not even a magazine format. It's actually bigger than a magazine. So they were usually mangled because they were printed on these really cheap paper. And it also included like a mask or like some kind of like little toy that was inside. And often those would get lost. So this one's complete. But the reason I like this one, and a lot of the time when I collect these foreign editions, is to get the first appearance of some character that made their first appearance in a foreign issue. So this one is the first appearance of Psylocke, a character that I really like. I like my sexy girls. So Psylocke made their first appearance in Captain Britain #8. So this is that book. One of my personal favorites. I'm glad that I have it in high grade too. And then recently I got a graded comic of Captain Britain. This is Captain Britain #1. This was actually on my 2022 want list, top 10 want list. Just happened that one of my viewers had it. So I was able to negotiate with them and they sold it to me for a very good price. So this is Captain Britain #1, another British comic. And you'll see, it even says, 10p. So 10 pence for this book. And this is from 1976. And again, these books are really hard to find in any grade, but to find it in a high grade and signed, that's kind of awesome. So that was a really, really, really great find. And I'll show you some more foreign editions. So another bunch of characters that I really like, I'm kind of weird about it, is the Smurfs. I'm a big fan of the Smurfs. And the Smurfs were actually published in Belgium and in France. The ones that I have are the Belgium editions. And they were published in a comic called Spiro. It's kind of a comic magazine. And their first appearance was in Spiro 1071. This is a long-running publication. So, I mean, this This is from 1953, I believe, or 58. Sorry, 1958. And, you know, it was at 1,000 at that point. So it just tells you how long this publication was running. So this is Spiro 1071, the first appearance of the Smurfs. Now, the Smurfs are not on the cover, so it's not that cool. But they did make a cover appearance. And they made a cover appearance just a few issues later. And this is their first cover appearance. So you see the little Smurfs at the top there. And this is 1072. So it's the very next issue. You get to see the little Smurfs. Now, somebody told me that the Smurfs actually kind of made these little cameo appearances where you couldn't really see the Smurfs. You couldn't, you know, they were sort of hinted at. You could see their little eyes in the bushes kind of thing. And they appeared in a bunch of comics, a bunch of these Spiro ones. And I have those as well. So these are like sort of cameos of the Smurfs. So this is like Spiro 1062. And then we got Spiro 1063. So these are all French editions. I can read French, so it's kind of convenient. So this is Spiro 161. Okay, and these, as I said, they also have like little cameos of the Smurfs. So yeah. And one last foreign edition. Oh geez, I didn't realize. Okay, this is a little bit adult. Okay, so this one, the French aren't shy about nudity, but I am in terms of showing it on my channel. So this is a French book called Yui, or You. I don't know how to pronounce it. Y-I-U. You. Okay, I'm totally butchering her name. So just a interesting comic. This character kind of made their first appearance in heavy metal, and I was just curious about it. I heard that there was a book that was published from France, so I picked it up. So it's actually got a great cover, great art inside too. But it's one of those ones I really can't show on the channel. But it is one of the foreign editions, and the artwork inside is just really nice. It's just really well done. So those are some of the things that I'd purchased from overseas. If there's like cool artwork, I'll generally like kind of gravitate to it. I bought a bunch of like books from Colombia and from like South America. That one of the things that I like collecting is kind of like these adult kind of sexy books from South America, because I find them kind of quirky and fun. One of the things I actually would love to collect, and this is kind of a weird one, is the Mexican Bibles, like the Tijuana Bibles, which are kind of like these adult books, but with innocent characters. I think it's kind of funny. I was first introduced to that concept in The Watchmen, because the character in that had, they had made Tijuana books about her, and she was like happy that they had done it. So it was kind of funny. So that's, those are books I don't have, but I think would be kind of funny to have. So those are some of my foreign ones. I have a pretty big collection of foreign Warren books. I have maybe about several hundred, or maybe even 1,000 foreign edition Warren books. I have pretty much everything that was produced in Spain, and like everything from Portugal and a few other countries, Japan as well. So pretty big collection of foreign stuff. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully answers your question well. The next is from Hannah J. My question is, if you found 3 exact copies of the same comic priced at the same $100 that you wanted, a US edition, a Canadian edition, and a UK edition, which would you go for? And if the next day you found 3 editions of another comic you wanted, a UK one, and they were priced differently, one was cheaper than the other, which one would you go for? For some reason it got cut off. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you a UK edition, and I'm going to talk about UK price variance. And this is really the main point of this video, actually, I kind of want to get into the price variance, because one of the things that I've seen, especially because I'm Canadian, I live in Canada, and the books that we generally get here are Canadian editions because that's what was here. So often when I'd buy comics, I would get the Canadian editions, not intending to get the Canadian editions, but just because that was what was available. And a lot of the Canadian editions have been spiking in prices lately because people have recognized that Canadian editions, there's maybe a tenth of them in compared to the US editions, and they were published at the same time. Well, the interesting thing about the UK editions is they're even more scarce than the Canadian editions. So, but they're cheaper, and that's the mystery about them. So I'm going to show you one of the UK editions that I have, and it's this one. Okay, I realize if I kind of bend it down like that, it doesn't reflect too much. So this is Amazing Spider-Man #9. This is the first appearance of Electro, and it just happened that I got about a 40% discount buying the UK version. Okay, and you'll notice that right there. One sec here. I'm going to go over here. Right under the Spider-Man head, you'll see it says 9D. Well, that's pre-decimalization. Wow, mouthful. And that stands for basically 9 pence. And, so it's roughly the same as 12 cents US. So, the interesting thing about this book is a couple things, and I'll get into the numbers and details about it. When they published the books, so I was actually nervous buying it, to tell you the truth, because I'm very picky about first appearances and first editions. I don't like buying second prints, and I was worried that the UK one would be kind of like a second print, because did it come after, there was a lot of reprints that were done in the UK. A friend, like the show that I do on Mondays, the price variance show, my friend, Mark, he always goes on about Alan Cross, and Alan Cross would produce these really amazing UK reprints. And they're quite rare, but they were reprints. And I'm personally, I don't really like reprints. So when I see the UK thing, one of my nervousnesses, I guess, things that I get nervous about it, is the fact that I worry, oh, is it a reprint? And I think a lot of people feel that way because it doesn't look right with the weird D instead of the dollar sign. So people kind of a little bit skeptical about it. However, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the UK price variance. They actually came out slightly before. And what would happen is they would actually release the books on the same day. So if you go to the store in the UK, or you go to the store in the US, well, actually the stores open up earlier in the UK because time zone, but that's beside the point. They would open up on the same day. Well, the UK one had to be printed earlier, just because to get it, they would print them in the US and they would have to ship them off to the UK. And in order to do that, they would have to print them first and have them ready and ship them out as quickly as possible so that they could make the deadline, so that they could open up on the same day in the UK and in the US. So often what happens is the UK editions were printed first, and they were printed with slightly better ink. So what happens is, as you print more and more comics, the quality of the inks and the press kind of goes down. So usually the UK ones, a lot of people describe them as being a little bit more vibrant, the colors and such. I didn't really notice that with mine, but so I'm not sure if you can see that, but it is quite nice. It is, I mean, I must admit, the UK version, it's the exact same except for the price. Looks good. Okay, so so those are some of the benefits. Now, the other cool thing about it is they wouldn't produce as many. So if you look at the census, and I checked the you have to check the CGC census. Like Go Collect doesn't show it. A lot of the pricing places don't show the UK variants versus the American variants. But if you go to the CGC form, you can actually find the census data for the UK price variants. And what I noticed, and I'll give you an example of mine. So this is Amazing Spider-Man number 9. Well, there are 2,354 of those on the census from the US price. Okay, so 2,300. That's a lot. Comparison, there's only 36 of the UK. It's almost 100th as rare. So 36 versus 2,300. It's day and night. Now, in terms of rarity. Now, the other thing that's interesting is the UK ones are not only rarer, but the grades are much lower. So it's actually harder to find a high-grade UK price variant versus American price variant. So with the ASM 9, for example, there are 2 9.8s on the census. So not super common that you find a 9.8, but, you know, there are 2 of them. Well, the UK variant, the highest grade is a 9.0, and there's only 1 of them on the census. So it's just really rare, hard to find those high grades, and it's pretty amazing. Now, if you expand out, like these are universal grades. Now, if you expand out to like qualified and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't really help much in terms of the UK ones. There's really not that many. The American editions have 2,779. So there's, you know, a few extra 400 more. With the UK versions, it goes up to 43. So an extra 7 copies that are not universal. So you can see the difference. It's roughly 1 in 100 ratio between the American edition and the UK edition. And I checked other books for what that ratio is, and it seemed to be a kind of a rule of thumb that if there's an American edition, well, and there's 1,000 on the census, well, there's probably about 10 on the census for the UK version. So just so much rarer. Now, if you compare that to the Canadian editions, it's usually 1/10. So we're looking at a comparison between the Canadian edition and the UK edition, and there's actually 10 times more Canadian editions than the UK editions. It's just really rare to find these UK editions. So kind of begs the question, why often when you go to eBay or some kind of place, you can buy the UK editions much, much cheaper. Usually I see them at around 80%. so you can save 20% buying a more scarce, more desirable book as a collector. So it's just insane. So right now, I think there's a huge opportunity here for collectors that if we buy the UK version over the American version, we are, you know, saving some money and at the same time getting a rarer book that in the future will be more collectible. If you look at the Canadian editions versus the American editions, they command like 20-30% premium over the American editions. And I've seen actually some that are even double the American price. So, you know, the fact that the UK edition is that much more scarce just seems to be a no-brainer to me to pick them up. So actually, I just bought Strange Tales number 62, which is the first appearance of the Wizard, which is like kind of a Doctor Strange prototype. And I bought, like, I had the choice. Okay, there was like 3 or 4 choices on eBay for it. And there was the UK variant and there was the American variant. And I could have got them almost the same price, but the UK one was like 2-3 grades higher. It was just like a better grade. Actually, it was slightly cheaper too. And it was just like such a no-brainer. Like I was like, why would anyone pick the other one? Like, it's just like, it was just so much better deal. And I just, you know, I bought the UK edition because I see the merit in getting those UK editions. So if you see that option where you get like this, even if they're at the same price, generally I recommend that you pick up the UK edition. It's going to be something that collectors will seek in the future. I see the way the hobby is kind of growing, and I found that there is this movement towards scarcity. It's sort of like newsstand became popular, newsstand versus direct editions, Canadian variants. Well, UK price variants is the next phase of looking for those scarce books. Another thing that people collect are the marked jewelers. So these are kind of things that add on scarcity. Well, compared to the marked jewelers, the UK ones are actually even more scarce than those. So really rare, and ones that I'd recommend you hunt for. So whenever you can find that little D, go for it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about price variants or about anything comic related, put it in the comments below, and I will answer it next week. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.